Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fundamental. It's about human behavior influence. And specifically, we're asking this question. How do you genuinely guide someone, maybe shift their mindset or actions, without the usual tactics, without that overt persuasion push?
Yeah, exactly. And for this, we're actually going back a bit to 1975. There's this fascinating study by Miller, Brickman, and Bolen,
Okay.
published in a very well-respected journal, and it really challenged the common ideas about how you change behavior.
Right.
They basically compared two specific approaches: good old-fashioned persuasion versus something they termed attribution.
Attribution.
Okay.
And this is where it gets interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
the findings were, well, not what you might expect.
Not at all.
It seems the less obvious method, this attribution thing, turned out to be more powerful. We're going to unpack why that is.
Definitely.
All right, so let's break down these two methods from the study. Miller, Brickman, Bolen. First up, persuasion. This is probably what most of us think of first, isn't it? It's trying to convince someone. You lay out the reasons, the logic.
Explaining why they should think a certain way or do a certain thing, highlighting benefits, that kind of approach.
Like making a case, a sales pitch, maybe?
Exactly. Now contrast that with attribution.
Okay.
This is where they got quite clever. Instead of trying to convince you,
Well, yeah, you simply tell the person that they already are the kind of person who does the thing you want. So it's not, you should be tidy, it's...
it's more like, you are a tidy person. It's subtle. A reframe.
Okay, so that's the setup. Persuasion versus attribution. What actually happened? What did they find? Which one worked better?
Well, this is the kicker. Attribution was significantly more effective.
Really? More than spelling out the reasons why.
Yeah. The example they used is really stuck with people. They found that just telling someone you're a clean person actually led them to act.
Yeah.
Well, cleaner.
Wow. Even if that wasn't really their typical behavior beforehand.
Exactly. Even if they weren't particularly neat to begin with, the label itself seemed to shift the behavior.
That's genuinely surprising. It makes you pause and think about how influence really works, doesn't it? It's not always the direct route.
Definitely not. There's a deeper psychological mechanism at play.
So why does attribution work so well? What's going on there?
It seems to tap into something pretty fundamental about us. Basically, we humans have this really strong drive to be consistent.
Consistent with ourselves.
With ourselves, yes, and with the image or the label that's been given to us, especially if it's a positive label, like being clean or reasonable or helpful.
Ah, okay, so someone tells me I'm, say, generous.
You feel an internal pull to align your actions with that description, to be generous. It's about maintaining that positive self-image, that sense of identity.
Right, it's like we have this internal desire for coherence. We want our actions to match up with who we believe we are, or maybe who others tell us we are.
Precisely. It makes our internal story make sense. We act in ways that reinforce that given identity.
So it's less about convincing the logical brain and more about tapping into that sense of self.
I think that's a great way to put it. It kind of bypasses the argumentative part and goes straight to identity.
Which, when you think about it, is probably much more powerful in the long run.
It often seems to be.
Okay, so let's make this practical. Thinking about this research, how can you listening actually use this? Maybe in a negotiation or just everyday life?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's not about being manipulative. It's about understanding this tendency.
Right.
So in a negotiation, for instance, instead of digging in your heels or arguing why your point is right.
Which often just makes the other person defensive.
Exactly. You could try subtly using attribution. Maybe drop in a phrase like, I really appreciate that you're being so reasonable about this.
Ah, so you're giving them the label of reasonable.
Right. And the power there is that often subconsciously, the other person will feel a nudge to live up to that, to be reasonable, to maintain consistency with that positive image you've just offered them.
It guides them without them necessarily even noticing they're being guided.
Oh.
That's subtle. And as you said, seriously effective based on the research.
It can be, yes. It works with human nature rather than against it.
So wrapping this up then, this deep dive really highlights a pretty profound difference, doesn't it? Between trying to persuade directly
The push approach.
and this more subtle power of attribution, giving someone an identity to step into. And it all circles back to that surprising 1975 study from Miller, Brickman, and Bolen.
It really does. Telling someone who they are seems, in many cases, much more potent than telling them what they should do.
It makes you think about the labels we use all the time, maybe without even realizing their impact.
Absolutely. Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you to chew on.
You okay?
How aware are you of these labels and attributions already operating in your daily interactions? You know, the ones people give you, the ones you give others.
Hmm.
And if you started noticing them more, how might understanding this principle actually change how you communicate? How you approach trying to influence situations, not just the big ones, but everyday conversations.
That's a great point, thinking about the subtle power of those labels. Well, something definitely to observe out in the world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.